Hello guys, my name is Wes if we haven't met before. I'm teaching a course called Secret Hack to Learning Piano Chords. So today we're going to be looking at diminished and augmented chords. If you missed my previous video, you can go back in the video library on Take Lessons website and you can find that one where we went over major and minor chords. So the way that I teach, if you haven't seen my previous video, I teach by memorization. It's the way that I learned. So rather than go in depth with music theory and describe half steps, whole steps, and all that, I kind of do it a little more simple, just easy ways to remember things. And that's why I like to call it a hack. So the same way that we learned major and minor chords is how we're going to be doing diminished and augmented today. So here's what we'll do. We'll start with an example here. This would be a major chord if you didn't know. This would be a C major. And the way that we talked about it in the last video is that the spacing between the fingers is how we'll remember. So a major, for example, was 3-2, meaning we have 3 there and 2 here. So that's kind of how we're going to go with diminished and augmented chords today. So I'm going to give a number with a slash and then another number. And what that means is the space. The first number means the number of notes that are not played between the first 2 fingers. And then the next number is the number of notes between these 2 fingers. So here's what we'll do. Let's start on a C, and we'll call it a C diminished. So if somebody asks you to play a C diminished chord, a lot of people are not going to know how to do that, especially starting out. And also, just a quick note, diminished chords and even augmented chords are not extremely popular. You won't see them very much. But this is just so you can learn. This is the journey to learning every chord on the piano. So for a C diminished, first thing, just like any other type of chord, you find the root note. So for a C diminished, you would find a C note, whether it's C minor, whether it's C major, diminished, augmented, whatever. The root note is a C. So you find the C, and then for a diminished chord, the rule is 2-2. So 2/2, meaning after that root note, we find 1, 2 open notes, and then we put that next finger down. And then the back half of it, 2 more open notes. 1, 2. There we go. My piano was messing up. So as you can see, this would be a C diminished. As you can see, we have 2 open notes between these 2 fingers. And we have 2 open notes between these 2 fingers. So don't get that confused. Don't think that you count 1, 2, and then play that note. Remember, you have to count 2 open notes that are not played. 1, 2, and then the next finger comes. And then 1, 2, and then the next finger comes. So this is a C diminished. And it does have a funky sound. So that's what a diminished sounds like. Let's try that again. So remember, it's 2-2. So let's try it on an F chord. So let's try an F diminished. First step, find that root note of an F. Then you count 1, 2, and then put a finger here. And don't get confused. I'm not counting to 3 there. Remember, I'm just counting 1, 2 open notes. And then I'll put the finger after that. So we have the 2 open notes. And then 1, 2. So we have 2 and 2 there. Take a quick look at it if it's confusing. And this would be an F diminished. So, like I said, that's a rule across the board. Any diminished chord on the piano. So now, if you just remember that rule, 2-2 for a diminished, then you should feel confident that if I come up to you and ask you to play any diminished chord on the piano, you can do it. So let's do one more tough one, okay? Let's try a G sharp diminished. So that sounds a lot tougher because you're adding a sharp in. Just remember, find that root note, G sharp. Sharp means you go up a half step. Then you count 1, 2, and 1, 2. So this would be a G sharp diminished. Okay? All right, well, hopefully that's helping with diminished. So now let's move on to augmented. So augmented, it's a little bit different. So a diminished chord, you think of taking a major or a minor and kind of shrinking it down, bringing all the notes closer to each other. Augmented is kind of the opposite. You're kind of spreading things out a little bit. So let's go to a C augmented. We'll use that as our example. So obviously, first step is that root note of a C. So an augmented is 3-3. So remember, diminished was 2-2, and augmented will be 3-3. So we got 1, 2, 3, and then that next note, and then 1, 2, 3, and then this note. So just take a look Look at that closely too. Just remember it's 3 open notes between these two. And open notes just means the notes that aren't being played. So there's 3 between those and 3 between those. I tell some people to remember the slash mark, because remember we say 3/3. I tell them to remember the slash mark is that middle note there, if that makes it easier. So there's your C augmented. Okay, let's try another one. Let's try the tough one, okay? Let's do an F sharp augmented, okay? First step, get the root note down. And then remember 3/3 for augmented. 1, 2, 3. So we got these 3 notes here. And then 1, 2, 3. So we got 3 and 3 there. So this is an F sharp augmented. And a lot of times when you hear an augmented, you're going to hear it resolve back down to a major. So it'll sound like this. And as you can see, now that turns into an F sharp major. So that's one way to remember it. A C augmented, just bring this 5th down a half step and it goes to a C major. That's one way to remember it. So let's try one more augmented. Let's do a G augmented. So we got our G note. We do 1, 2, 3. We put this here, and then we go 1, 2, 3. And there's our G augmented. 3 and 3. All right, well, hopefully that helps. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. Check out my profile. I have a few videos up now. I also do live classes, so keep an eye out for that. I usually teach every weekday around 3 p.m. Mountain Time. And also I do teach private lessons as well, so feel free to reach out if you're interested. All right, hope this helps.